Hello everyone. In this video lecture, I am going to cover few basic concepts related to pump. As you see in the animation over here, the liquid is transferred below the surface of the earth towards the surface with the help of the pump. Now this pump consists of one handle. This handle is connected to the piston rod. At the end of the piston rod, there is a bucket valve. Now this piston is moved up and down with the help of the handle. So we are applying an effort on the handle so as to move the piston up and down. Because of this reciprocation motion of the piston, the liquid is transferred below the surface of the earth towards the surface. So this is how we are using pump to transfer the liquid from one place to another. Now let us understand pump in detail. Pump is a mechanical device which conveys the liquid from one place to another. Or pump can be considered as an hydraulic machine which converts mechanical energy into hydraulic energy. So it is one kind of a machine which converts mechanical energy into hydraulic energy. As we see in the previous example, we are applying some effort on the handle. So that effort is nothing but mechanical energy. Because of that effort on the handle, the liquid was transferred from below the surface towards the surface of the earth. So this mechanical energy is transferred to the liquid. So this energy which is transferred to the liquid is considered as hydraulic energy. Now pump are the power consuming machine because it consumes the power to transfer the liquid from one place to another. Now the power can be supplied to the pump by prime mover such as electrical motor, IC engine or turbine. We need power to operate the pump, and that power can be obtained from any of these prime movers like electrical motor, IC engine or turbine. Next, pumping means addition of energy to the liquid, and this is done by the means of piston, plunger, impeller, gear, screw, etc. Purpose of the pump is to transfer the energy to the liquid, and to transfer energy to the liquid we are using certain kind of equipments, and that equipments are piston or plunger or impeller or gear or screw. So these are different kinds of pump, and we are going to study each of them in detail in the upcoming slides. The purpose of the pump is to increase the pressure, impart kinetic energy, lifting and circulating or exhausting liquid, etc. So these are the different purpose of the pump. First is to increase the pressure of the liquid from suction side to the delivery side. Also it increases the kinetic energy. Kinetic energy deals with the velocity, as kinetic energy of the liquid can be given as 1/2 of mv square, where m is nothing but mass flow rate of liquid and v is velocity of liquid. Pump is also used to lift and circulate liquid or exhausting the liquids. Now let us see few applications of pump. Pump are used in various industrial applications. First is in thermal engineering. In thermal engineering, pump is used to feed water inside the boiler. Boiler is one kind of device in which water is boiled with the help of combustion of fuel, and this water is converted into steam. So to transfer water to the boiler, we need to use some device, and that device is pump. So pump pressurize the liquid which is outside the boiler and transfer it inside the boiler. Second application in thermal engineering is to circulate water in the condenser. The condenser is used in the thermal power plant, and it is used to reject waste heat to the circulating liquid. So pump are used to circulate the water inside the condenser. Also, pump are used to circulate lubricating oil in the proper places. Next field of application is agriculture and irrigation. In agriculture, pump are used to lift water from the deep well, or they are used to convey water from one place to another place. Third, it can be used in the chemical industries to convey chemical liquids from one place to another. Or it can be used for municipal waterworks and drainage systems. As you see that in all the applications we are dealing with certain kind of liquid. In thermal engineering we are dealing with the water, and phase change of the water like water and steam. So in this case we are using pump to transfer the water to the boiler or condenser or to circulate lubricating oil. In irrigation we are using pump to lift the water from the deep well or to convey the water from one place to another. In chemical industries we are using pump to circulate chemicals from one place to another. Also it is used in municipal waterworks and drainage system. Last, pumps are used to control the hydraulic systems. Classification of pump. Pumps are broadly classified into two categories. First is positive displacement pump and second is rotodynamic pump. Positive displacement pump is further classified into two parts. First is reciprocating pump. This reciprocating pump has three types. First is piston, second is plunger and third is bucket pump. The second classification of the positive displacement pump is rotary pump. In rotary pump there are three types: gear pump, vane pump and screw pump. For rotodynamic pump we are having three types. First is centrifugal pump which can be single stage or multi-stage. Second is axial flow pump and third is mixed flow pump. In the upcoming slides, we are going to study all the different kinds of pump in detail. So let's move further. Terminologies used in pump. You can see one figure over here. This figure is of single acting reciprocating pump. Reciprocating means what? Piston is moving in the one direction, that is either in the forward direction or in the backward direction. You can see the figure over here. There are two pipes. One pipe is called a suction pipe and the other pipe is considered as delivery pipe. Suction pipe is dipped inside the sump well, that is, this is nothing but the tank of water, and the suction pipe is dipped inside this tank of water. One end of the suction pipe is connected to the piston and the cylinder mechanism. So this is nothing but a pump which consists of piston and the cylinder. Piston is connected to the connecting rod and connecting rod is connected to the crank. This crank is connected to the prime mover such as electrical motor or any other device. So because of this prime mover, this crank will rotate. So we are supplying energy to the pump with the help of prime mover and at the crank. So because of the energy which is supplied at the crank will rotate with the angular velocity omega. Now, as the crank rotates, what will happen? This connecting rod is connected to the piston, so piston will reciprocate. The liquid which is over here in the sump, it will transfer to the cylinder when the piston will move in the suction stroke. That is, when the piston will move from left to right, the liquid from the sump will transfer to the cylinder. And when the piston will move from right to left, in that case the liquid which was there inside the cylinder, it will get pressurized and the pressurized liquid will transfer to the delivery pipe. Now let us understand few terminologies of pump in detail. First terminology is head. In the pump, different form of energy are expressed in terms of height and it is called as head. There are different kinds of head such as suction head. Suction head is nothing but the vertical height from the center line of the pump above the surface of the liquid. As you see in this figure, this is HS. This height HS is nothing but the suction head, which is the height difference between the surface of the liquid and the center line of the pump. So this height is considered as suction height. Next is delivery head. It is the vertical height of the center line of the pump to where the liquid is to be delivered. Now the liquid get pressurized in the pump and it will get delivered to the delivery pipe. So this height difference is considered as delivery head. Velocity head. It is the kinetic energy carried by the liquid at the end of the delivery pipe. Now if you get liquid at the end of the delivery pipe, this liquid will be having certain velocity and the velocity of the liquid over here is, let's say, V. Corresponding to that velocity, the energy of the liquid is nothing but V square by 2G. it can be expressed in terms of the velocity head, that is v square by 2g. Next terminology is static head. Static head is the summation of suction and the delivery head. So static head HST is equal to HS plus HD. Manometric head, it is the total head required to be developed by the pump. And manometric head is equal to what? Suction head plus delivery head plus HFS plus HFD plus HFO and HV. Now what are these HFS? HFS is nothing but the friction head loss in the suction pipe. When the liquid is transferred from the sump to the cylinder, there is a friction between the liquid and the surface of the pipe. So because of the friction, some head loss or energy loss will take place, and that energy loss due to friction in the suction pipe is considered as suction head. Similarly, when the liquid is transferred from the cylinder to the delivery pipe, then there is a friction between the liquid and the delivery pipe, and that friction is considered as friction head loss in the delivery pipe. Also, when the liquid is in contact with respect to that of the piston, then there is some friction between the liquid and the piston. So this friction between the liquid and the piston causes the loss of energy, and that energy loss corresponds to friction head loss inside the pump. And last is HV. HV is nothing but the velocity head of the liquid at the end of the delivery pipe, and the value of HV is v square by 2g. So when we add all the heads, the head which we get is nothing but manometric head. Now this is the total head required to be developed by the pump, because in order to transfer the liquid from the sump to the delivery pipe, you have to develop certain kind of energy, and that energy can be expressed in terms of manometric head, which is the summation of static head plus dynamic head plus some friction head losses. Now let's move to the next terminology, discharge. Discharge is the volumetric flow rate of the liquid through the pump. As the liquid is transferred to the delivery pipe, it will be having certain velocity, and that velocity can be calculated in terms of meter per second. Now, the amount of, let's say that area of the pipe at the delivery pipe is A, and if we multiply the area of the pipe with respect to that of the velocity, then we will get the discharge. So discharge is equal to what? Cross-sectional area into velocity. Now the discharge can also be measured in terms of volume displaced into number of cycle. Over here, volume displaced is what? Area of the pipe into the length of the pipe, and number of cycles can be written as RPM by 60. That is, capital N is the RPM and divide by 60. So Q is equal to what? LAN by 60, where Q is equal to LAN by 60, where L is equal to what? L is stroke length. L is stroke length. A is cross sectional area, and capital N is nothing but RPM. RPM of crank. RPM of crank. So if we see in this formula, then crank is rotating with some RPM, that is number of revolution per second, that is capital N. A is the cross-sectional area of the pipe, and L is nothing but the length of the cylinder, or it can be considered as stroke length, that is displacement of the piston from one end to the other end. Now discharge can also be considered as volumetric flow rate, that is how much volume of liquid is transferred to the delivery pipe each second. Next terminology, question 8, number 8, water or hydraulic power. It is power developed by the pump to handle the liquid so as to develop the manometric head. Now how much power is to be supplied to the pump so as to develop the manometric head? That power is nothing but the water power. So water power is the power which is transferred to the pump, as the pump is the power consuming machine and the power has to be transferred to the pump. So in order to transfer the liquid from the suction to the delivery pipe, the total head which is required is nothing but manometric head. Now to overcome this manometric head, we require certain power which is to be supplied at the crank. So the power which is supplied at the crank can be considered as rho g q h m, where rho is the density of the liquid, q is the discharge of the pump, and hm is the manometric head in meter. So if you multiply all the terms over here, you will get the water power, that is the power required to transfer the liquid from the sump to the delivery pipe. Now this water power will depends upon the density of the liquid. So if water is there, then density will be 1000 kg per meter cube. And if some other liquid is there, then power required will be different because it depends upon the density. Also, power required depends upon the volumetric flow rate. So it depends upon the velocity of the liquid at the delivery pipe. If we want more velocity at the delivery pipe, then the volumetric flow rate has to be increased. So in order to increase the volumetric flow rate, we need to supply more power to the pump. Also, water power depends upon the manometric height, that is height difference between the height summation of hm is the summation of static head plus dynamic head plus frictional head losses. So it depends upon this height difference from the sump to the delivery pipe. Next is shaft power, that is power input to the pump by the motor. Now when the motor is connected to the pump at the crank, this motor will drive the crank and rotate it in either clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. So the power which is supplied by the motor to the pump is nothing but shaft power. Now this shaft power and water power are different because when the power is transferred from the pump, from the motor to the pump, there will be some head loss or frictional losses. So to overcome the frictional losses, we need to use the term that is efficiency. Efficiency is what? It is the ratio of water power to the shaft power. Formula for efficiency is water power by shaft power into 100. So the power which is transferred by the motor to the pump is shaft power, and the power which is used to transfer the liquid from the sump to the delivery pipe is nothing but water power. And if we take the ratio of those two power, we will get the efficiency of the pump. Now mind well that shaft power will be more as compared to that of the water power. So over here, shaft power is the power which is supplied by the motor. So that power is nothing but PS. Water power is the power which is supplied to transfer the liquid from sump to the delivery pipe. So shaft power is equal to water power plus some frictional power loss. So this is nothing but frictional power loss. It is because power get lost, some power of the power from the motor to the pump is lost due to the friction. So this frictional power loss can be considered as PF. Now let's move to the next terminologies. 11. Coefficient of discharge. It is defined as the ratio of actual discharge to the theoretical discharge. Now whenever you calculate discharge at the end of the delivery pipe, that discharge is nothing but the theoretical discharge. Actually there will be some losses or leakages inside the pipe or inside this pump. So these small leakages we have to neglect it for calculating the theoretical discharge. But in actual practice, actual discharge will be less as compared to that of the theoretical discharge. So neglecting the losses or leakages from the pump, if we measure the discharge, then it is considered as theoretical discharge, and if we consider the leakages inside the pump, then the discharge is considered as actual discharge. So if we take the ratio of actual discharge to the theoretical discharge, we will get coefficient of discharge. Next terminology is slip. It is defined as the leakage of the fluid from the delivery to the suction end. It is usually represented as the percentage, that is theoretical discharge minus actual discharge upon theoretical discharge. So slip is nothing but the leakage of the fluid from the delivery pipe to the suction end. So ideally the liquid has to transfer from the suction pipe to the delivery pipe, but there are small leakages in this fluid transfer because this liquid is traveling against the gravity. However, because of the gravity, small amount of liquid will also flow in the direction of gravity, and this is nothing but the leakage of the liquid from the delivery to the suction end. So this leakage has to be considered while calculating the discharge. So to consider the amount of leakage, we can find out the slip percentage, that is difference of theoretical discharge minus actual discharge upon theoretical discharge. Next is driving power for the pump. It is the power required to drive the pump considering the efficiency of the pump. Let's say that if the pump is, it is written that the pump is 90% efficient. So if pump is 90% efficient, if let's say if 1 kilowatt of energy is supplied to the pump, then that 1 kilowatt is not directly useful to convert the water from sump to the delivery pipe. Out of that 1 kilowatt of energy, 90% is useful to transfer it from the sump to the delivery pipe. So efficiency is 90% over here. So whenever pump is given and the efficiency of the pump is given, then we need to consider it in the formula of water power. So in that case, water power becomes rho QGHM upon NP, where NP is nothing but efficiency of the pump. Now let us discuss different kinds of pump in detail. First is reciprocating pump. Reciprocating pumps are classified into three categories according to the reciprocating members of the pump. First is piston pump, second is plunger pump, and third is bucket pump. According to the action of the liquid on the piston, reciprocating pumps are classified into two categories. First is single acting pump and second is double acting pump. And according to the method of the drive, the reciprocating pumps are classified into two types: direct acting pump and power pump. Direct acting pump means what? We are operating the pump manually, and in power pump we are using some external power source to operate the pump. Now let us study all the three different kinds of reciprocating pump in detail. So first is reciprocating pump. So we will study single acting reciprocating pump. In the single acting reciprocating pump, you will be having this kind of arrangement in which there is one suction pipe which is connected to the sump well. Suction pipe is now connected to the cylinder, and inside the cylinder there is a piston which reciprocates due to crank and connecting rod. Now the cylinder is also connected to the delivery pipe so as to transfer the liquid from the piston to the delivery pipe. Now let us study the construction of single acting reciprocating pump. In single acting reciprocating pump, any one side of the piston acts upon the liquid. The pump consists of piston or plunger, cylinder, suction pipe with valve, delivery pipe with delivery valve, prime mover with which we can drive the pump. So it consists of, first of all, it consists of prime mover. This prime mover will drive the crank. So because of the prime mover, crank will rotate in the clockwise direction. So as the crank rotates in the clockwise direction, it will transfer motion to the connecting rod. And because of this motion, piston will move in the suction side, that is from left side to right side. When the piston will move from left side to right side, there is space which is created on the left side of the piston. And because of the space which is created in the left side of the piston, the liquid from the sump will transfer towards the piston or towards the cylinder through the suction pipe. Now liquid will get accumulated inside the cylinder, and when the crank completes the full revolution, then the connecting rod pushes the piston from the right side to the left side. And when the piston will move from right to left, the liquid which was filled inside the cylinder, it will get pressurized, and this pressurized liquid will transfer to the delivery pipe. So this is how this single acting reciprocating pump will work. Now if you observe that there are total two valves over here. First is suction valve and second is delivery valve. When the suction takes place, that is when the liquid is transferred from the suction pipe to the pump, the suction valve will get open and delivery pipe remains closed. And when the discharge takes place, this delivery valve will open and suction valve is closed. So liquid from the cylinder will transfer to the delivery pipe. Now let us understand single acting reciprocating pump through the animation. You can observe animation which is given over here. In this case, suction valve is open and liquid is transferred to the cylinder. And as the crank will rotate, the pressure increases inside the cylinder and the pressurized liquid is transferred to the delivery pipe. So you can follow the arrow which is given over here in the animation. For the half revolution of the crank, suction will take place, and for the other half revolution of the crank, discharge will take place. There are total two valves. This is suction valve and this is delivery valve. So during suction stroke, suction valve will open and liquid will move inside the cylinder, and during the discharge, that is during the delivery stroke, the delivery valve is open and the liquid from the cylinder will transfer to the delivery pipe. Now there are total two strokes. Forward stroke, the piston moves towards the right and crank moves from 0 to 180 degree. So let's say that this is 0 degree and this is 180 degree. So when the crank will move from 0 to 180 degree, piston will move towards the right and suction will take place. This creates vacuum in the cylinder on the left side of the piston, causing the suction valve to open, and thus liquid will enter into the cylinder and fills it. Second is reverse stroke. Piston moves towards the left, that is piston will move from, this is 0 degree, this is 180 degree, and this is again 360 degree. So when the piston will move from 180 degree to 360 degree, this will increases the pressure in the left side of the cylinder, and thus delivery valve will get open and the liquid are forced to the delivery pipe. The suction and the delivery valves are the non-return valves, thus they opens or close automatically according to the pressure difference across them. So these two valves are the non-return valves. Non-return valves are those valves in which liquid is transferred only in one direction. So in the suction valve, liquid is transferred in the upward direction, that is from suction pipe to the cylinder, and for the delivery valve, the liquid is only transferred in one direction, that is from cylinder to the delivery pipe. Now these valves are the pressure differential valves and they open or close automatically due to pressure difference across them. These are the few more animations related to single acting reciprocating pump. First is the suction stroke, in which liquid from the tank is transferred to the cylinder and the crank is moved from 0 to 180 degree. And second is the discharge stroke or delivery stroke, in which piston will move in this direction, that is in the left direction, which will causes the liquid to get pushed to the delivery pipe. So in this case, the pressure of the liquid increases, delivery valve opens and liquid will transfer to the delivery pipe. Single acting reciprocating pump with air vessel. In the reciprocating pump, we have seen that during the discharge, the suction valve is closed and discharge valve is open. Fine. So in this case, you are getting water in the tank. However, when the suction takes place, there is no discharge. So delivery valve is closed. So because as the delivery valve is closed during the suction stroke, there is no discharge. So during half of the revolution of the crank, you are getting discharge, and during other half of revolution of the crank, you are not getting discharge. So in this case, discharge is not continuous in single acting reciprocating pump, because during suction stroke we are not getting discharge and during delivery stroke we are getting discharge. So to compensate this problem, we are using single acting reciprocating pump with the air vessel. As you see in this figure that it is a single acting reciprocating pump with the air vessels installed on the suction as well as on the delivery side. The main advantage of air vessel is to make the flow continuous in the delivery pipe. So the main function of the air vessel is to have a continuous flow at the end of the delivery pipe. For example, let us understand the working of this single acting reciprocating pump with air vessel. When the piston will move towards the right side, suction valve will get open and liquid from the sump will transfer to the air vessel, also to the cylinder. So when the piston will move towards the right side, crank moves from 0 to 180 degree with the help of the prime mover, and the liquid from the sump will transfer to the air vessel as well as to the cylinder. So here liquid is transferred to two parts, first in the air vessel and also inside the cylinder through the suction valve. Now the liquid inside this air vessel is not filled fully. There is some air space over here at the end of the liquid. When the crank moves from 180 degree to 360 degree, piston will move towards the left side. As the piston will move towards the left side, the liquid which is inside the cylinder, it will get pressurized. Because of this pressurized liquid, the delivery valve will get open and liquid from the cylinder will transfer to the delivery pipe also and also to the air vessel. So in this case also, the liquid is transferred to the delivery pipe and the air vessel. At both the places it will get transferred. Fine. Now what will happen in the next suction stroke? In the next suction stroke, delivery valve is closed. Fine. Suction valve will get open. Liquid from the sump will transfer to the cylinder, and liquid which is already filled in the air vessel, it will get also transferred to the cylinder. It will also try to get transferred to the cylinder. Fine. So in this case, the liquid which is already in the air vessel will transfer to the cylinder, and the next fresh water from the sump, it will get transferred to the air vessel also and to the cylinder also. During the suction stroke, delivery valve is closed, but the liquid which is already filled inside the air vessel, it will get transferred to the delivery pipe. So in this case, in suction stroke, we are getting discharge through the air vessel. Fine. So even when delivery valve is closed during suction stroke, the water from the air vessel will transfer to the delivery pipe. So this is how we can maintain continuous flow of water through the air with the help of air vessel. Now let us understand the operation of double acting reciprocating pump. In single acting reciprocating pump, liquid was acting only on one side of the piston. However, in case of double acting reciprocating pump, liquid will act on both the side of the piston. So there is a liquid over here also and at the end of the piston also. Now in the double acting reciprocating pump, there are total 4 valves: S1, S2, D1, D2. S1 and S2 are the suction valves and D1 and D2 are the delivery valves. There are total 2 suction pipes and 2 delivery pipes. During the suction stroke, the valve S1 will get open and liquid from this suction pipe will transfer to the cylinder. So as the piston will move on the right hand side, the liquid which is there at the back side of the piston, it will get pressurized. So as the pressure increases at the back of the piston, the delivery valve D2 will get open and the water will transfer to the delivery pipe. So in this case, water from the suction pipe will transfer to the cylinder, and the water which is on the back side of the piston, it will get pressurized and the delivery valve D2 will get open and the water will get transferred to the delivery pipe. So this is first stroke. In the second stroke, stroke means what? Displacement of the piston from one end to the other end. In this case, piston get displaced from left side to right side. In the second stroke, the piston is moving from right side to left side. So when the piston will move from right to left, suction will created at the back of the piston. So this valve will get open and the liquid from the suction pipe will transfer to the cylinder. Also the liquid which is present on the left side of the piston, it will get pressurized. Because of this pressurized liquid, the delivery valve will get open and the liquid will transfer to the delivery valve through valve D1. So during the first stroke, when the piston will move in the right side, S1 and D2 is open, and when the piston is moved towards the left side, S2 and D1 will get open. Now there are total 2 strokes. Forward stroke, piston will move towards the right side of the cylinder. The liquid is sucked through the pipe through the suction valve S1 as shown in the figure, and at this moment liquid on the right side of the piston is get compressed. So delivery valve D2 will get open and liquid will transfer through the delivery pipe. So in the single stroke, we are getting suction also and discharge also. Fine. So in forward stroke also we are getting discharge through this pipe, and in reverse stroke we are also getting discharge through the second delivery pipe. So in the double acting reciprocating pump we are getting continuous discharge either through this pipe or through this pipe. Now in reverse stroke, piston will move towards left side of the cylinder, so liquid will get sucked through the wall S2 at this moment, and the liquid which is on the left side of the piston, it will get compressed, and because of the compression this delivery valve D1 will get open and the liquid will transfer through the delivery pipe to the delivery tank. So in this case we are getting continuous discharge, whereas in case of single acting reciprocating pump we were getting only discharge during the delivery stroke. However, the problem of continuous discharge with single acting reciprocating pump can be solved with the help of air vessels. In this case we don't need to use air vessels because the discharge over here is continuous. Now over here you can see the animation of double acting reciprocating pump. It consists of piston which reciprocates inside a cylinder, and there are total 4 valves, 2 inlet valve and 2 outlet valve. When the piston will move towards the right side, this inlet valve will get open and the liquid will enter inside the cylinder, and through this outlet pipe the discharge will take place. And when the piston will move towards the left side, this inlet valve will get open, so liquid will get filled inside this cylinder and the discharge will take place through this outlet pipe. So in both the stroke, that is in the forward and the reverse stroke, liquid will get transferred to the delivery pipe. This is the other animation of double acting reciprocating pump, in which there are 4 valves. These 2 are the suction valves and these 2 are the delivery valves. As the piston will move in the downward direction, this suction valve and this delivery valve will get open, and when the piston will move in the upward direction, this suction valve and this delivery valve will get open. So you can observe this thing in the animation clearly. Now let's move to the next category of pump, plunger pump. Reciprocating pumps were divided into 3 categories. First is piston pump. For piston pump we have seen single acting and double acting. Second is plunger pump. Single acting reciprocating pumps are having 3 parts: piston pump, plunger pump, and third is bucket pump. So we are on the second category of reciprocating pump, that is plunger pump. You can see that in a plunger pump there is a plunger which is connected to the handle. This handle is connected to the linkages. There is a stuffing box and the bushes which is provided so as to prevent the leakage of liquid on the upper end of the pump. Now at the bottom end of this plunger there is a suction pipe, and on the side there is a delivery pipe. So when the handle moves in the upward direction, the plunger will move in the upward direction. This will causes the suction valve to open and the liquid from the suction pipe will transfer to the cylinder. And when the handle will move in the downward direction, the liquid which is already present inside the cylinder, it will get pressurized, and that pressurized liquid will causes the delivery valve to open and the liquid will transfer to the delivery pipe. Now we need to understand a difference between piston and plunger. This is the figure of a piston. So in a piston you can say that this is the length of the piston and this is nothing but cross-sectional area of the piston. This cross-sectional area is the circular area. This is the front tube, and if you see from the top, it will look like a circle. Now over here, length is small as compared to that of its cross section in case of piston. Whereas in case of plunger, length is large as compared to that of its cross sectional area. So in case of plunger, this length L is larger as compared to that of the cross sectional area A. Now let us understand the construction of plunger pump. It consists of hand-operated plunger pump consists of plunger, stuffing box, suction valve, delivery valve, and the handle. The pump is operated by an handle. In order to prevent the leakage of the liquid, the stuffing box, gland, and packaging are provided. Non-return valves are fitted at the suction and the delivery pipe. preventing the backflow. Now let us understand the working of plunger pump. First is intake stroke. In the intake stroke, plunger moves in the upward direction. This will causes the vacuum at the bottom of the plunger, and because of this vacuum, suction valve will get open and the liquid from the suction pipe will transfer to the cylinder. Next is discharge stroke. In the discharge stroke, piston will move in the downward direction or plunger will move in the downward direction, which will causes the suction valve to close and the delivery valve to open. And because of this, the pressurized liquid will transfer to the delivery pipe through this delivery valve. Now the operation of plunger pump is very similar as compared to that of a single acting reciprocating pump. In single acting reciprocating pump, it was a piston, but in case of plunger pump, there is a plunger. However, the displacement of the plunger is smaller as compared to that of the piston. Fine. So total there are two strokes. In the intake stroke, the liquid will transfer to the cylinder through the suction pipe. Delivery valve is closed, and when the piston will move in the downward direction, the liquid will get pressurized and this pressurized liquid will transfer to the delivery pipe. Now let's move to the next category of the pump, that is bucket pump. You can see an animation of bucket pump over here. It consists of a valve. This valve is nothing but a bucket valve, and also there is another valve over here which is nothing but suction valve. Bucket valve is connected to the piston and piston is connected to the handle over here. Now you can see from this animation that when this piston is moving in the upper direction, suction valve is open and the liquid which is at the top of the bucket valve will get transferred to the delivery pipe. So follow the blue arrow which is given in this animation. So when the piston is moving in the upper direction, that is in the upward stroke, the liquid will get transferred to the delivery pipe and suction valve will get open, which will causes the liquid from the suction pipe to enter inside the cylinder. Fine. When piston moves in the downward direction, what will happen? None of the suction valve will remain closed, but bucket valve will get open. So in this case, the liquid which is present over here, it will just get transferred from the bottom of the bucket to the top of the bucket. So let us understand the construction of the bucket pump. A bucket pump is a single acting reciprocating pump. It consists of an open cylinder, a piston with the bucket type of valve as shown in the figure. A bucket valve works as a non-return valve. Also, packaging and stuffing box and glide box are provided so as to prevent the leakage. It consists of two strokes. During the intake stroke, piston moves up, the bucket valve remains closed, and during this stroke, liquid will enter into the cylinder through the suction valve. Simultaneously, the liquid which is above the bucket is forced into the delivery pipe through the delivery valve. So during the intake stroke, bucket valve is closed. Fine. The bucket valve is closed, but the liquid which is above the bucket is forced into the delivery pipe. Simultaneously, during this intake stroke, the liquid from the suction stroke, from this suction valve will enter inside the cylinder. During the discharge stroke, piston is moved in the downward direction and the bucket valve is closed. So in this stroke, neither the suction nor the delivery will take place, but the water which is previously sucked inside the cylinder will move to the upper side of the piston. So observe the intake stroke and the discharge stroke in this animation. So you can follow the arrow over here. So this arrow suggests that when the piston is moving in the upward direction, suction valve is open, so liquid from the suction valve will transfer to the cylinder and the liquid which is already on the upper end of the bucket will transfer to the delivery pipe. And when the piston is moving in the downward direction, only bucket valve is open and the liquid which is already present in the cylinder will transfer to the upper end of the bucket. So bucket pump is also a non-continuous, is also having non-continuous flow, because in this case the flow of the liquid is not continuous. So we have already covered three different types of reciprocating pump, that is piston pump, plunger pump and bucket pump. Now let us move to the second category of the pump, that is rotary pump. Rotary pump are also having further three parts. First is gear pump. As you can see over here, this is the gear pump. At the bottom there is a suction and at the top there is a delivery pipe. The liquid from the suction pipe will enter and it will get trapped in these pockets of the gears. And as the gears are rotating, this liquid from the suction pipe will get transferred to the delivery pipe. So these are the two different animations of the gear pump. Here only one of the gear is connected to the prime mover. So when one of the gear is connected to the prime mover, the other gear will get rotated because of the first gear. Now here in this kind of a pump, the liquid which is get trapped in between these two gears, it will get squeezed. So it will get squeezed means what? Its volume reduces and pressure increases. Because of this, pressurized liquid will get transferred to the delivery pipe. Let's understand the construction and working of gear pump. Gear pump consists of two or more gears which are in mesh with respect to each other. The rotation of the gear provides the pumping action. Spur, helical or herringbone types of gears are used for this purpose, but spur gears are most commonly used. Two spur gears are in mesh with each other and one of the gears is considered as driving gear and other is considered as driven gear. Driving gear means those gear which is connected to the prime mover, that is motor. So one of the gear is connected to the motor, that is called as driving gear, and other gears is driven through this driving gear because of that driven gear. So because of the contact between driving and the driven gear, other gear will rotate and that gear is called as driven gear. Now the mechanical contact between the gear teats and the casing, between the teats of the gear and the suction stride, at the suction stride, and with the rotation of the gear, the entrapped liquid between the teeth and the casing is carried to the discharge side and squeezed to the discharge side. So in this case, because of the mechanical contact between the gears, and the liquid will get trapped between these two gears and between the gears and the casing. Since this liquid will get squeezed and it will get transferred to the discharge side. Next is vane pump. You can see the animation of vane pump over here. It consists of a disc with the slots. Inside the slots there are vanes. So these are the vanes over here which are there inside the slots. One end is the suction end and the other end is the discharge end. The liquid from the suction end will get trapped between these slots, that is called as vane, and because of the rotation of the rotor, that liquid will get transferred to the discharge side. Now during this transfer, the liquid which is between these two vanes, it will get compressed and this compressed liquid will get transferred to the discharge side. In this case, suction is on this end and delivery on this end. It consists of stationary casing and the cylindrical rotor. The cylindrical rotor contains the sliding vane which is fitted to the radial grooves of the rotor as shown in the figure. The rotor is eccentrically mounted in relation to the cylindrical casing. The vanes are free to move away from the center of the rotor due to the spring action or due to the gravity and centrifugal force of rotation. This makes the tight contact between the vanes and the casing during the rotation. So in this case, the liquid which is trapped between these two vanes, it will get transferred due to what? Due to the centrifugal force of the rotation of the rotor and due to the gravity. So because of this, there is tight contact maintained between the vanes and the casing, and the liquid which is there, which is get trapped inside this vane, it will get transferred to the delivery side. Now let's move to the next category of the pump, that is screw pump. In screw pump, you can see two screws in mesh with respect to each other. The liquid will get transferred into this helical path. One end of the screw is connected to the prime mover. So this screw is connected to some power source, that is nothing but electrical motor. So as one screw will rotate, it will causes the other screw to rotate. Now the liquid will enter from the inlet, it will get squeezed between these two screws, and because of this squeezing action it will get compressed, and this compressed liquid will get transferred to the discharge site. It consists of pair of screws. One of the screw drives the other screw in the stationary casing as shown. The liquid is carried between the screw threads in pair of screws in mesh, and it is displaced axially as the screw rotates. So as the screw rotates, it will get squeezed and it will get transferred axially towards the delivery site. Next is centrifugal pump. So we have covered two types of pump. First is reciprocating pump and second is rotary pump. Both these pumps are having three varieties. Reciprocating pump is divided into piston, plunger and bucket pump. Rotary pump is divided into screw, vane and gear pump. Now third category is centrifugal pump. Now what is centrifugal pump? First of all, we will understand the type of centrifugal pump. According to the type of the casing, there are three types of centrifugal pump: volute pump, vortex pump and diffuser pump. And according to the number of stages, there are total three categories: multi-stage, impeller in series and impeller in parallel. So this is the figure of centrifugal pump over here. Centrifugal pump consists of an impeller. This impeller is nothing but the set of rotating blades. So these blades rotate with the help of some power source, and that power source is nothing but prime mover. This impeller is placed inside the casing. The liquid will get enter inside this pump through this suction pipe. Now this suction pipe is at the center, so liquid will get enter through the center of the pump. Now as the liquid will get enter into the center, this impeller is rotating. Because of the electrical motor, this impeller is rotating, so liquid will get transferred into the radially outward direction. So as the liquid from the suction pipe will enter into the impeller, it will be under the centrifugal force. So because of the centrifugal force of the impeller, the liquid will get pushed in the radially outward direction. As a result, the kinetic energy of the liquid will get increased. Moreover, as you see that the area between these two blades, they are gradually increasing. So area over here is less and the area on the outer edge is more. So as the area between two blades of the impeller is increasing, as a result, kinetic energy will get converted into the pressure energy. So it will act like a diffuser. In a diffuser that is of gradually increasing area, when the liquid is passed from the smaller cross-sectional area to the larger cross-sectional area, then because of that, kinetic energy of the water will get converted into the pressure energy. So this is nothing but the diffuser action. So because of the diffusing action, the liquid from the impeller will get transferred from the inner side to the outer side, and as it will move from inner to outside side, diffusing action will take place and kinetic energy of the water will get converted into the pressure energy. So in the impeller, two kinds of energy will transfer to the liquid. First is kinetic energy because of centrifugal force, and kinetic energy can be given as 1/2 mv square. And second is pressure energy. And this pressure energy is due to the diffusing action of the blades. That is, when the liquid will move from the inner side of the impeller to the outer end of the impeller, the area of the blades, area between the blades increases. As the area between the blades increases, velocity reduces and pressure increases. Now the liquid which is at the end of the impeller will be having high kinetic energy and high pressure energy. Now this kinetic energy which is left at the end of the impeller, it will get converted into the pressure energy because of the structure of the casing. In this casing, you can see that this passageway is gradually increasing. That is, the area of this passage or the gap So in this case, the gap between the impeller and the casing is gradually increasing, and as the area is gradually increasing, the kinetic energy of the water will get converted into the pressure energy at the end of the delivery valve. Now let us understand the components of the centrifugal pump. First is impeller. It consists of rotating parts of the centrifugal pump and it increases the kinetic energy of the liquid. It consists of series of backward curved blades The impeller is mounted on a shaft which is connected to the shaft of the electrical motor. Second component is casing, as you see in this figure. It is the airtight passage surrounding the impeller, and it is designed in such a way that kinetic energy of the liquid at the end of the outlet of the impeller is converted into the pressure energy before the delivery pipe. So in the impeller, kinetic energy of the liquid is increasing, also the pressure energy is increasing. In the casing structure is designed. Casing is nothing but the structure inside which the impeller is placed. Now it has been designed in such a way that the kinetic energy at the end of the impeller is converted into the pressure energy before the delivery pipe. Next component is the suction pipe. It is the pipe whose one end is connected to the inlet of the pump and other end is connected to the sump. So this is the suction pipe over here. You can see these two animations of centrifugal pump. So this is the front view and side view of the centrifugal pump. So liquid is enter from the center. So this is the suction pipe and this is the delivery pipe. You can see the animation over here also in the bottom. The liquid is entering at the center, and as the blade rotate, it will get pushed in the radially outward direction. So as the liquid will get pushed into the radially outward direction, because of the centrifugal force, the kinetic energy and the pressure energy will increase. Now as you see that the area between the casing and the impeller is gradually increasing. So as this area is gradually increasing, which will causes the kinetic energy to convert into pressure energy. Now let us look at few more components of the centrifugal pump, that is footwall. Footwall is placed at the end of the suction pump, at the end of the suction pipe. Now in the non-return wall, it is the non-return wall or one type of wall. It is fitted at the lower end of the suction pipe. The footwall is essential for all types of rotodynamic pump. It helps in allowing the liquid to enter into the pump in the upward direction, and it does not allow the liquid to flow into the downward direction. So this footwall will causes the liquid to transfer only in the upward direction and not in the downward direction, because it is a non-return wall. Non-return wall means what? It allows the liquid to get transfer only in one direction. Next is strainer. Strainer is the essential component of the centrifugal pump. It protects the pump against the foreign material which passes through the pump. Without strainer, pump may be choked. So when the water is transferred to the centrifugal pump, the water will contain certain impurities. These impurities will get filtered out with the help of strainer. So strainer is one kind of a filter which is attached at the lower end of the suction pipe. Delivery pipe. It is the pipe whose one end is connected to the outlet of the pump and other end is extended to deliver the liquid at a required height, and that's why it is called as delivery pipe. So delivery pipe you can see over here, and suction pipe is at the bottom. Multi-stage centrifugal pump. In multi-stage centrifugal pump, there are more than one centrifugal pumps. They may be attached either in series or in parallel. So first is impeller in series. As you see that there are more than one impeller in the centrifugal pump. This is the first rotating blade and this is the second rotating blade. So this is the side view of the centrifugal pump. As the water from the centrifugal pump will enter, it will get transferred to the impeller, and at the impeller, kinetic energy and pressure energy of the water will get increased, and this pressurized liquid will get transferred to the second set of impeller, and in the second set of impeller also pressure and kinetic energy will get increased, and finally it will be transferred to the delivery pipe. So in this case there are total two impellers which are attached at a single shaft. So if in the impeller in series, if the pump has more than one impeller and all the impellers are keyed to a single shaft, then such arrangement is considered as impeller in series. Next is impeller in parallel. Impeller in parallel means what? One impeller is there on each shaft and hence keeping the shaft parallel to each other. So there are more than one shaft over here and there are more than one impeller. So there are total two centrifugal pump and two different impellers on two different shafts, and those shafts are parallel to each other. So you can say that there will be two suction pipe and the liquid will get sucked to the suction pipe, and as the liquid will transfer from the suction pipe to the impeller causes the kinetic energy and pressure of energy of the liquid to get increased, and this pressure energy, high kinetic energy and high pressure energy of the liquid from the impeller will transfer to the casing. And once the liquid will get enter into the casing, kinetic energy of the liquid will get converted into the pressure energy, and that pressurized energy will transfer to the delivery pipe. So in this case you are getting double discharge from the first delivery pipe and discharge from the second delivery pipe. So in case of impeller you are getting double discharge. Volute pump. Volute pump is one kind of centrifugal pump. In this kind of a centrifugal pump, impeller is surrounded by a spiral casing. Spiral casing means what? Here area is less, so as you see that area between the impeller and the casing, it is gradually increasing. So such kind of a casing is considered as spiral casing. Volute chamber provides a gradual increase in area to the discharge pipe. So as we move towards the discharge pipe, area is gradually increasing. The liquid leaving the impeller enter into the volute chamber with very high velocity. So as the liquid leaves through the impeller, as you see over here, as the liquid will leaves through the impeller, it will be having high pressure energy and high kinetic energy. So this high kinetic energy is gradually converted into the pressure energy because of the gradual increase in area of the casing. This volute casing is useful for effective conversion of kinetic energy into pressure energy. Next is vortex pump. You can see the figure over here. Vortex pump is similar to the volute pump, but in case of vortex pump, you can see an impeller blades. These impeller blades are connected on the circular disc. So there was no circular disc in the volute type of pump. In the case of volute type of pump, these are the disc, these are the impellers. This impeller is not attached to a disc. Fine. But in case of vortex type of pump, the impeller blades, these are the impeller blades, it is attached to the disc. So you can see one dotted line over here. This dotted line is corresponding to the disc on which these impeller blades are attached. Now the vortex type of pump is modified form of volute casing. In this casing, circular chamber is inserted between the impeller and the volute chamber, and it is formed by the combination of spiral and circular chamber as shown in the figure. This chamber is called as vortex or whirlpool chamber. The water leaving through the impeller moves freely in this vortex chamber, and its velocity head is gradually converted into pressure head. And afterward the liquid is collected into the volute chamber and it will get discharged through the discharge pipe. This arrangement reduces the eddies to a considerable extent and also improves the performance of the pump. Eddies means what? Eddies means the vorticities inside the liquid. So this is the vorticities inside the liquid. Such kind of eddies will not form inside this vortex type of pump because flow will take place smoothly as compared to that of the volute casing. Next is diffuser type of pump. In diffuser type of pump, there are two sets of blades. First is impeller blades which are rotating, and second set of blades are stationary blades. So you can see over here, these are the stationary blades and these are the impeller blades. So these impeller blades are rotating. As you see in this next animation, the impeller blades are rotating and the next set of blades are nothing but the fixed set of blades. They are nothing but guide vanes. So in this type of pump, the impeller is surrounded by the series of guide blades which are nothing but the fixed blades mounted on a ring which is called as diffuser. The liquid leaving through the impeller flows through the diffuser. So liquid from the impeller will flows through the diffuser. The passage of the diffuser is gradually increasing area. So when the area is gradually increased, the velocity of the water falls and pressure increases. So velocity reduces and pressure increases. This type of pump produces more pressure head as compared to that of the vortex and the volute pump. Next, comparison between reciprocating and centrifugal pump. First point, reciprocating pump works on the principle of positive displacement. Positive displacement means what? Pressure increases because volume reduces. In case of piston and cylinder mechanism, this is the piston and cylinder. So as the volume of liquid inside the cylinder reduces, pressure will get increased. So this is nothing but positive displacement principle. So reciprocating pump works on principle of positive displacement, whereas centrifugal pump works on principle of rotodynamic. Rotodynamic means what? Pressure of the liquid is increased because of rotating impeller. So in this case there is an impeller, whereas in case of reciprocating pump there is no impeller. Second point, in reciprocating pump, discharge is fluctuating and pulsating. Fluctuating and pulsating means what? Discharge is not continuous in reciprocating pump. For example, in single acting reciprocating pump, the discharge is not continuous. Whereas in case of centrifugal pump, discharge is continuous and smooth. Third point, it can produce high head but low discharge. Whereas in centrifugal pump, it can handle large flow of liquid with low head. Low head means what? Height difference between the sump to the delivery pipe. So in this case, large height difference is possible between the sump and the delivery pipe with low discharge, whereas in case of centrifugal pump, it is possible to handle large amount of liquid with low head. Fourth point, reciprocating pumps are having low speed and low efficiency, whereas centrifugal pumps are having high speed and high efficiency. Reciprocating pumps are much noisy, whereas centrifugal pumps are smoother in operation. Next, we need to learn about priming of centrifugal pump. This concept is very important, so let us understand what is priming. When the pump is first put into the service, its passageway such as suction pipe, K-seam, delivery pipe are filled with air. Now if pump is running with air, pressure head generated is in terms of meter of air. If pump is running with water, then the pressure head generated will be in terms of meter of water. But as the density of air is very low, therefore pressure head generated by the pump with air is negligible as compared to that of the pressure head generated by the pump with water. And hence initially water may not be sucked by the pump from the sump. And therefore to avoid this, before first time starting the pump, air must be removed from the passageway. Now let us understand this passage in detail. This is the centrifugal pump. In the centrifugal pump, there is a pull of water from the suction pipe and there is a push of water towards the discharge pipe. This push of water is because of the impeller which is rotating. So because of the rotation of the impeller, the centrifugal force is exerted on the water, and because of the centrifugal force, the water is pushed towards the delivery pipe. Now as the water is pushed towards the delivery pipe, it will cause the suction valve to open and more water will get sucked inside this centrifugal pump. Now the amount of push which is at the end of the discharge is proportional to the amount of pull. So as the push is proportional to the pull, you can say that the centrifugal pump is normally working in such a way that the amount of water which is pushed to the discharge is proportional to the amount of water which is sucked inside this inside the centrifugal pump through the suction pipe. Now when the pump is just started, for the very first time when the pump is just started, then there is only air inside the pump. So as only air inside the pump, so the amount of push force which is generated at the delivery pipe is less. So that's why the amount of water which is pulled inside the centrifugal pump will be also less. Because here the push force is very less because only air is present. So the pump won't work for the very first time. So in order to operate the pump perfectly, what we can do is we can open up the priming pot. So when the priming pot will get open, the external water will get inserted inside this pump through this priming pot. And this is done only for the first time when the pump is getting started. Fine. Once it is done, once the water is filled inside this pump, what we can do is we can start the rotation of the impeller. So once this priming is done, the impeller is started. So when the impeller will start rotating, it will generate the push force, and because of this push force, the pull force will get generated. And this way, these centrifugal pumps will be in normal operation. So when the pump is operated for the very first time, we need to remove the air from the pump, and the method to remove the air from the pump is nothing but priming. So priming is an operation of filling the passageway from the outside source with liquid which is to be raised before starting the pump. Thus, the air from the passageway is removed and it is filled with water. Now priming can be done by multiple ways. First is manual priming. As you see in this figure, the priming is done with the help of small water vessel, and with the help of funnel, the water is inserted inside the centrifugal pump and the air vent wall is also open. It will causes the air which is inside the centrifugal pump to go outside the pump and the water to get inside the pump. So in this case, priming will be done manually. Let us read this description in detail. In this method of priming, water is poured into the pump through the priming funnel as shown in the figure. When priming is done, an air escapes through the pump through the air vent wall. When all air is exhausted from the casing, suction pipe and the portion of the delivery pipe, the water will flow out through the vent, indicating that the priming is completed. So when the air moves out from the pump, when the air will completely moves out from the pump, small amount of water will start getting out from the vent. It shows that the priming is completed. The air vent is now closed, and once the priming is completed, so as the priming is completed, this air vent will be closed. So when the air vent will be closed, the water suction pipe, delivery pipe and the impeller, they all will be filled with water. And once the priming is done, we can start the normal operation of the pump. Next, priming with vacuum pump. So this is the other method of removing the air from the centrifugal pump. In this case, small size reciprocating pump, this is the reciprocating pump which is used for the priming of the centrifugal pump. The suction line of the reciprocating pump is connected to the delivery line of the centrifugal pump. So here this is the suction pipe of the reciprocating pump. This suction pipe of the reciprocating pump is connected to the delivery pipe of the centrifugal pump. So in this reciprocating pump, there will be a piston and the cylinder. So as the piston will move in the downward direction, it will causes the suction valve to open and the air will get sucked inside the cylinder. So air will get sucked inside this reciprocating pump. So from where this air is coming? This air is coming from the centrifugal pump. So in this way, we can suck out the air with the help of reciprocating pump which is attached at the end of the delivery pipe. So in this way, we can remove the air from the centrifugal pump. When this pump is operated manually, the reciprocating pump is started and this pump lifts the water from the sump to the suction line, casing and the portion of the delivery pipe of the centrifugal pump. If now centrifugal pump is started, it will be able to deliver water to the desired level. So as the centrifugal pump, reciprocating pump is in operation, this reciprocating pump will suck out the air from the centrifugal pump. So when the air is get sucked out, the water from the suction pipe will move inside the pump and it will move towards the delivery pipe with the help of this centrifugal pump. Next, priming with jet pump. In this case, water is available at the high head and this water which is at the end of the delivery pipe, it causes this water to flow inside this centrifugal pump with the help of nozzle. The nozzle is so designed that a jet outside the nozzle is at a pressure less than the atmospheric pressure. So the pressure at the end of the nozzle is less than the atmospheric pressure. So it causes the suction, that is suction of water from the sump. This nozzle is generally fixed in the suction pipe of the centrifugal pump near the sump level. So as the nozzle is connected to the overhead tank and the water from the tank is moving towards the nozzle, pressure at the end of the nozzle will be less than the atmospheric pressure. So as the pressure at the end of the nozzle is less than the atmospheric pressure, it will causes the water to move inside this suction pipe, because in the tank the water will be at the atmospheric pressure and inside at the end of the nozzle the pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure. So because of the pressure difference, the water from the sump will get transferred to the suction pipe. Next, priming with separator. In this method, air separator is provided on the delivery side of the pump and bent suction pipe is provided at the inlet of the pump as shown in the figure. In this case, suction pipe is bent and the air separator is provided at the end of the delivery pipe. Bent suction pipe always contains some liquid. So this bent suction pipe will always contain some liquid. When pump is started, this liquid along with the air from the rest of the suction pipe is sucked into the impeller and it is delivered to the separator. So when the pump is started, the liquid from this bent pipe will transfer to the impeller and this impeller will causes the pressure energy and kinetic energy to increase and this pressurized liquid will get transferred to the air separator. Now since the head developed initially is not sufficient, fine, no liquid is transferred to the delivery pipe. So as the amount of liquid inside this bent pipe is very small, the head which is developed by the impeller is also small. So as the head which is developed by the impeller is small, it won't get transferred to the delivery pipe. So the liquid which is heavier than air, it will fall back into the separator and the air will move in the upward direction. In the air separator, liquid will fall back and air will move out. Therefore, the liquid and the air are separated in the separator. The air will get moves out through the delivery pipe and liquid will return back to the impeller. So in the air separator, air will get move out and liquid will get returned back to the impeller because the amount of liquid which is there in this bent pipe is very small. So slowly the liquid will get accumulated inside this impeller. Now the return of the liquid to the impeller makes the mixture sucked and this process is continued until all air is removed from the suction side. After this, the liquid will get lifted by the pump from the sump. Until and unless all air is removed by the air separator, this pump won't start. And once all the air will get removed from the air separator, enough amount of liquid will get accumulated inside this impeller and it will get transferred to the delivery pipe. So this is the end of chapter pump. I have tried to cover all the topics related to pump. So if anything is left out, then you can ask me in the comment section. Thanks for watching.